speaker, who is again a very great personality and always on move of doing this karma and dharma. And I now read on a small introduction of the speaker. CA Abdul Majeed is a partner of PricewaterhouseCoopers and he has a vast experience of 25 years in the field of assurance practices. CA Abdul is a commerce graduate and fellow member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He is a BCom from ASP College of Commerce, Bijapur. He has worked with PwC network firms across different countries, has worked mainly in assurance line of service, and is currently a part of many large multinational and complex engagements. He has served and is serving clients in manufacturing, technology and financial services sectors. CA Abdul also takes active part in seminars organized by ICAI, Constellation of Indian Industry, Indo Chamber of Commerce and American Chamber of Commerce in various subjects, including on topics like global economy, Indian economy, global risk, as well as different sectors of economy, especially manufacturing and service sector. He is also takes active participation in educational field, and currently he is a member of Board of Studies at IFIM Bangalore, leading business school in Bangalore, and he ranks 13th at All India level. He is also a Board of Studies at Acharya Business School. With this brief introduction of such a great personality, let's welcome today's speaker, CA Abdul Majeed.
Good evening. Before I start, I want to thank Mr. Bhatt as well as CS Swarnalata. In fact, I was talking to him about this subject for a lot, because one thing I realized over the period of time, as a professional accountant, I think we're becoming distant with auditing standards. As a result, we are getting into a lot of problems and future expectations. If you don't get this right, I don't know whether it will be relevant in the marketplace. That's for sure. Because I think we are known, actually, if you look at regulators, they expect us to be expert in the auditing standards, not accounting standards. But unfortunately, in India, at least I have seen, we give a lot less importance to auditing standards. I think therefore I was telling the Central Council member also, please do whatever is possible to promote the standard. Otherwise, I think people like NFRA is going to be after us. That's what I can say. But let me just go through, I think, in terms of my agenda. It's a long session. I'll try to keep it very short and where I need to be quite detailed. I'll get there. I think this is my kind of agenda. I think before we just go there, I think let's look at in terms of profession where we are today and why we are where we are today. I think that is something we all have to start thinking through. Why the profession has been a target not only in India. Look at UK, Australia, Netherlands, Brazil, Japan. I don't find a single country where we are not in the front line. Now, two lessons you have to learn out of it. One, when you are in the front line, still I feel very happy because they are relevant. Otherwise, you are not in the front line. The moment you are not in the front line, that means you are dead. That means people still are talking about us. They think that we are relevant in the marketplace, which is a positive, positive aspect. At the same time, now what is the expectation from the profession? And if you look at where changes or challenges you could say, one is obviously the quality. Across the globe, the regulators think that auditors are not doing their job. I'm not talking about one regulator here. I'm talking about right from PCOD, FRC. Okay, I'm talking about in Indian context. You look at any regulator around the world, they think that look, auditors are not doing their job properly. As a profession, what are we saying? We are saying, look, there is expectation gap. The profession is trying to say that look, there is expectation gap. What an auditor does is quite different from what the common man thinks the auditor does. There is some truth in it. Because the moment something happens, any corporate scandal happens, at least I have seen in my 27 years of experience, large 10 complex corporate scandal around the globe. I was in those countries at that point in time. With different firms. Different firms it has happened. So obviously the expectation gap is one way. I think the profession is saying that look, there is expectation gap. Because people tend to say that I give reasonable assurance, not the absolute assurance. That means, look, I look at sample, I do reasonable assurance. And the normal public is thinking that you are giving the absolute assurance. I think that's where the gap comes in. The other is conflict. What the regulators are saying that you as an accountant, you tend to do a lot of work for your client. You are not independent. You are not objective in your work. So there is a conflict. As a result of that, the whole Section 144 came in the Companies Act. You can't do certain work for your client. And that list is only going to increase with time we go by. Because there is a conflict. I'll talk about what's happening now. Choice. At least not in India, abroad. There are just handful of firms who are doing all the work. There's no choice. If one firm fails, what happens? Like what happened to, in the good old days, we had one firm, I just want to take the firm name, after the scandal in the US, that firm just went off the business overnight. Right? Choice and skepticism. If you look at accountant, what are our key qualities? Before we could get there, let's take a step back. What is expectation from us? What is the foundation on which we are standing? In my mind, we are only standing on two foundations. One is a healthy skepticism. You as an auditor, you exercise healthy skepticism. The second foundation, judgment. You've got to make sound judgment. You can't see future. Right? Regulators might come back and they might criticize you from the hindsight information, but you need to make that sound judgment. And why sound judgment is so important today, I'll obviously talk about that, in terms of, look at it in terms of, I think, globally what is happening. In the UK, there's a big debate going on. How the audit profession should be regulated. Whether the big four accounting firm, they should be only doing the audit, or they can do other work also. There's a debate going around. There's a debate going around on the choice. Why can't we build more firms? Financial Reporting Council is just like your NAFRA in India. People are now questioning whether the FRC is relevant. Look at now, the people are asking the regulator itself whether you are relevant. And then there is a report on the FRC whether it's working or not. I'm just giving a quick highlight on that. Dutch Authority for Financial Market are completely making a sweeping change to the profession, including rating of the audit firms, rating of the companies and rating of the audit firms. Australia, I think they are looking at, because they had lots of corporate scandal in 2017 and 18. India, of course, why I'm tracking. Institute pushed a lot. I think PNB was the last nail on the coffin. 132 was not implemented because the Institute was pushing. The moment we started heading on ICI, on some other companies, government said, look, stop. We will not entertain it. Although I think the Institute did a lot to say that, look, we are the body created by the Parliament. Right? US, of course, I think 2001 you had the PCOB after the scandal, I think the independent regulator came. So independent regulators are now becoming extremely active. That means the profession will lose the self-regulation. If you look at the US now, today, after PCOB came in, the AICPA Institute, just in front of C Institute, they only write auditing standard, that's all about, nothing else, and educate people. So the entire monitoring and discipline is taken off from the AICPA. Now, internationally, what are they doing? Lots of things are happening internationally. There is a body called International Forum of Independent Audit Regulators. They have a website. And the members of this international forum is all the regulators in respective countries. ICI wanted to become a member that this institute said that you are not independent. We will not allow you to be part of our forum. We want only independent from the profession who monitors the profession and they can be a member. So maybe I think NFRA will become a member of this. So there are already, 55 countries are part of this, association. So what they do, they look at the quality issues around the globe. And they are not working in isolation. They are working along with Basel Committee of Banking Supervision, European Commission, Financial Stability Board, International Association of Insurance Supervisors, ISCO. So they are working with the international bodies to see, I think, how they can help the profession to become much more in terms of addressing the quality issues. So the area which is quite quickly I'll go through, I just talked about it, is skepticism, making sound judgment, challenging management. The regulator's biggest single point is that you accept what the client tells you on the face value. You take representation and you don't really do much on that. So that is not expected out of you. Okay, and then you talk about, standard. What is happening because of that? If you look at, there are two regulators globally, an international regulator and you have a US regulator, whether it's accounting or auditing. If you look at the US regulator, FASB, which writes the accounting standard, or the PCOB, which writes the standard, they have slightly different approach. Whereas the international regulator, for example, IAASB, the Auditing Standard Board of IFAC, or even the IASB, which writes your IFRS standard, they are more on principle based. The US is more on rule based. Now slowly international standards are also now getting rule based. Because now they are saying that there are too much of principle we are giving to people, they are not implementing properly. So now let's make it rule based. If you look at the changes which are happening in the US gas, the PCOB took all the standards from the AICPA and they started rewriting those standards, saying that they are more principle based. And that is now slowly catching up with the IAASB, which is writing the international standard. That let's make it. Because today, if you look at it in the past, you can pick one sample, test and give the opinion. Today you can't do that. So that means slowly we are going from the principle based to rule based. You see more and more happening around in the standards. Non-GAAP measures. So what is non-GAAP measures? You don't know much here. But in the US, the non-GAAP measures are nothing but in the financial statement. You publish the non-GAAP measures, you take the GAAP profit and you do reconciliation, you come to non-GAAP measures. That has now become a real issue with the regulator saying that, look, I think you are misleading the investor. I think these are some of the focus areas which are kind of going around. Now, what is changing the capital market? Why the scandals are hitting the newspaper? Why the regulators are becoming sudden and jittery? What has happened? In the past also, we used to have scandals. Now, what has changed? There are two things that have changed. The capital market composition is changing significantly. The people who invest money in capital market are not individual investors today. They are pension funds. If you look at large pension from Netherlands, UK, Middle East, China, they are investing money all over the world. You look at the IFRS. One of the major investors was British Airways Pension Fund. Nothing to do with India, nothing to do with in our country, but they are invested. Why is it happening? Because the pension fund obligation is increasing. Because most of the developed countries, you have lots of aged population. And if you look at most of the developed countries, you do their account properly today, half of the governments are bankrupt today because there is aging population. The pension fund is not increasing the return what they need to give back to pensioners. So they are taking the risky bet. Earlier they used to invest. They used to invest in US Treasury bond or corporate bonds, but today they are investing in equity. So something goes wrong, that means state of that matter goes to the parliament of the country. If you look at what happened in the UK in the last 2017-18, the amount of money the pension fund has lost is significant. Now the British Parliament is saying that who's going to fund that money. So the composition is changing. Similarly, the sovereign fund. If you look at Middle East sovereign funds, some sovereign fund put together of all 7-8 countries, they're almost about $2.5 trillion. They are pumping money. Look at the sovereign fund of China or Saudi Arabia or Qatar or Netherlands or for the US, they're investing money in the emerging market. It's gone. So that means any corporate scandal hits the common man today. Like banks. The moment there's a disaster in the bank, it hits everyone. It comes on the newspaper. Now the corporates are slowly getting into that. And that makes our role further important. Of course, the regulatory kind of coordination is happening around and the oversight of independent auditors is increasing. People are also asking about not only this, I talked about the IFAC, the International Federation of Accounting. Now the regulators are saying that these guys are self-funding. Or IAASB, International Auditing and Assurance Board, which writes the ISA. They are saying that this is also self-funded. People are only funding, accountants are funding. How is it independent? They have now started attacking IFAC, IAASB, IASB, which writes the IFRS. They started attacking all those institutes. And that will increase in the future. They said, look, we need to make sure that these are independent. I think that's also they're talking about reforming these institutes. And apart from that, there is two standards. I think when you look at audit quality, there is no single definition. Now let me tell you, I think from my own lens, when I look at audit quality, what has changed, because I have been spending almost 25 years in this profession, the stakeholder definition is changing today. When I started doing the articles, I know that my stakeholder is shareholder. I've been appointed by the shareholders. I have an engagement letter with the shareholders. I'm supposed to do the work which, for them. That is changing now. The landscape of regular, the stakeholders is changing. So, who are your stakeholders today? With whom you don't have engagement letter. You have nothing to do there. Look at the regulators. They're the biggest stakeholder today of the profession. Look at society at large. Look at debtors. Look at the customers. Look at the suppliers. Look at employees. The entire definition and landscape of stakeholders is changing. And they're trying to look at why if something goes wrong, let's look at jet goes wrong. Look at the employees' legislations. So I think the definition of stakeholder is changing. That's why it makes it very difficult for us when we sign the audit opinion. The second thing which is changing, which I talked about the judgment. Today, 3/4 of your balance sheet is on fair value. No question might be asked, what is fair value? When the economies are not doing what they're supposed to do, I don't even know next month how the stock exchange will behave. I am giving the going concern assurance for 12 months. Am I capable of doing that today? No. Impossible. And 3/4 balance sheet is the fair value. And as a signing partner, sometimes I feel I am depending, my destiny is depending upon lot many people. An valuation expert, an actuary, a forensic guy. I don't have any control of my own destiny. When we started our profession, it was historical cost accounting. I could audit that number. I know what is being paid, I know what is being received. Today that is changing. That's number one. Number two, financial statements are not reflecting a true and fair view. In the sense, if you look at today, what worries me, why the scandals are happening now, let's say ILFS. Year on year, there is gap between what profit you report, what cash you have in your account. I've seen the companies where your profit is 100, you have a negative cash flow of 50. If you look at it that like normal businessman, Rohda, that's what the profit should be. Today the gap is increasing. You are profitable, you don't have money. Then there are issues like what is happening in the marketplace. Why is it happening? Because of unrealized gain hitting the profit and loss account. And that gain is not there tomorrow. That's point number one. Point number two, you'll be surprised to know, if I sum up the intangible asset of all the Fortune 500 companies, it's $10 to $19 trillion. Almost close to 18% of the world GDP. I'm talking about intangible assets. The total tangible assets world over is only $3 trillion. Look at example where accounting is going wrong. Goodwill. At least in Indian GAAP, used to amortize goodwill. Let me get rid within 5 years time frame. Today you say, no, I'll do the impairment assessment. You never know. And you do impairment assessment on a lot of data related to the future. I don't believe that this big scandal will happen on the intangible assets in the next couple of years time. Companies will even go bankrupt. So one side you have intangible assets building up. Look at, for example, Jet itself. Why bankers are worried? They have lent a loan. They don't have security. It's only on the brand. If SBI goes to, let's say, bankruptcy court, if they go to NCLT, they will get 10% of the amount what they have lost. So 90% later they have to pay. SBI is refusing to take it to NCLT. Why? Because they have only given money on brand. So I think this is an issue what we're grappling with today. The fair valuation, where you have to make the judgment. We see lots of difference with the cash, what is generated out of your business, what profit you are reflecting. It's a problem. And you are also funding long term with the short term. That's the other issue which is happening now. So these are issues which are extremely difficult to predict when you sign the accounts, unless you have thorough understanding of the business. And the second thing which I see from our own experience, we do very little spend time on understanding client business and pressure points. Every company, every sector, because I've worked almost 15 to 16 sectors, I know that it's extremely difficult to do an audit if you don't understand the industry levers, where the trouble might come through, which I just talk about when I'm going through this. So what the regulators have done, they brought one standard called ISQC1. They brought in about 10 years back. The firm should have some standard at the practicing member should have some standards at the firm level. And then the engagement level. I think that's how they distinguish between the firm level and the engagement level. And we seem to have issues in both. Let me tell you, I talked about IFRA, International Federation of Independent Audit Regulators. They say, when we do the review of the firms, 40% defect rate you see. How much? 40%. So what defect they see? They see these standards have not been applied properly. So that's what the defect rate is, and which is unacceptable to the regulators. So what they're now pushing through each of the big network firms, or through the international bodies, that you need to reduce your defect rate over year by year. If you don't reduce, then you're not relevant. I'll tell you, for example, there is no requirement to audit private companies in Europe. There is no requirement to audit private companies in the US. There is no company audit required in most of the South American countries. What makes regulators say that it's not required here also? Because they are not getting the input what they are supposed to get. It might happen. Right? I think if you don't get our together. So let me just go through. So what I have done, I have taken the compilation from global level. I will also come to the QR area. What the QR, I think you might see some similar points coming through on the quality issues. When you look at the audit, to make it simple, the way you look at quality, you are expected to do three things in audit. If you do that diligently, you can probably say that, look, I have done my job fairly well. So what are the three things? The first and foremost important thing, how do you ensure the auditing standards which are applicable while you do the work you are compliant with? I'm talking about basically the audit procedures, the risk, the assertion which you are targeting. That's one aspect of the auditing standard. How do you comply with the standard? The one area of concern there, I think I see from our own experience, the quality of audit evidences. Because of today's electronic age we are, I see lots of issues in the quality of audit evidences. The evidence what we see, I'm not saying that you should have forensic lens there, but evidence is it sufficient for me? I still find problem when people depend a lot more on the internal evidences as opposed to external evidences. As an accountant, we should ensure all the time that the audit evidence is internally generated or externally generated. If it's internally generated, you have to give the head record. If it's externally generated, you can rely on that, for example, confirmation. Right? And we need to look at the quality of audit evidence also. So I think one is the auditing standard and how you implement that standard, and what's the quality of audit evidence you are looking at it and how you are concluding. As simple as that in that whole thing. It's very simple to say, very difficult to achieve. Because the most important thing as an accountant, as a practice accountant, you should think in your client, which is the most difficult area to audit here. And I will tell you, as a human tendency, difficult area we don't do properly. Easy area we do, expenses audit value, very well. So I think that's where trouble comes in for us. So what is the auditing standard? So the second one is what? How the company has implemented the accounting standard. Whether it's a measurement standard or it's a disclosure standard. How the company has complied with in those. That's the second aspect you look at it. The third aspect you look at is that how the company has complied with the law and regulation which impact the financial statement. See, there are laws which impact financial statement, there are laws which don't impact financial statement. As an auditor, I think our main focus is the one which impacts the financial statement. If you do these three things religiously and ask question to yourself after the audit, how I implement the standard, auditing standard, how the accounting standards comply with, and how the law and regulations comply with, your job is done. Number two, depending on checklist is good, but towards depending on checklist, you don't increase your knowledge. Today I see lots of people tend to think checklist driven audit. It's only compliance, tick the box. You don't. When I'm talking about making a sound judgment, you can't make sound judgment with checklist. Audit program, checklist. I'm not saying that you should not follow, you should follow, but you should also think about it. Because it requires that. So if you do those three things, then you probably will be able to address the issues. Now let me tell you what is the issues globally on the firm level. The biggest concern the regulator has is on independence. Wherever you are doing the audit, you are not independent. And where they are picking the holes, they are saying that, look, you have financial relationship sometimes. Directly, indirectly. You don't rotate the partners. You don't rotate rotate the firm, now we have the mandatory rotation. Two-thirds of the world is now one for mandatory rotation of auditors. Now the time will say whether it will fetch the result or not, I don't know. Then you have personal independence of staff. People are holding shares in the company but doing the audit. Or you do non-audit services, which are actually you are not supposed to do. For example, you build a system, you do a lot of other work, management work, but still you certify. Sometimes you prepare the financial statement, which is not, once again, a customary practice many people follow. I don't know how to prepare cash flow, you prepare. I don't know how to prepare the accounts, you prepare. You are directly conflicting your independence. You don't have a safeguard. I think that's a real problem. Or business relationship. Complex business relationship, the firm has audited clients. For example, you're auditing a bank, you're not independent sometimes because you're reaching the threshold. And you also don't communicate to audit committee if you have an independence issue and how you are addressing that issue. Because what the standard talks about, if the firm has an independent issue, then you need to put the safeguard. For example, you have different engagement team doing that work, you'll get the team from the other offices. So there could be any safeguard which is available in the standard. So the requirement of the standard is that how do we communicate that to audit committee? That we don't do. I think that's where the trouble comes in. And of course the business relationship. So these are the issues which are coming up on the independence at the firm level. The companies or the practicing firms don't have a robust system to ensure that independent from the standard point of view in all of those aspects. Sometimes the tracking is not there, sometimes you have non-compliance, you don't resign from the client, sometimes you have non-compliance which you can address through safeguard, you are not doing it, you are not effectively communicating with audit committees, so net you are not independent. So you are not independent, as a result of that you are compromising your objectivity. You may be competent, but if you have independent issues, you will not be objective. I think that's the trouble coming from the independence point of view. Human resources. 6:30 or the breakup of that, just human resources. Training. Training, I think we spoke about training on standard, training on skepticism. The biggest challenge I see today is skepticism. We've got to be more skeptical in today's environment than what we were in the past. Because the environment was stable. Business was stable. Business model is stable. But today I think everything is changing. So you've got to be pretty skeptical. The training, skepticism training, industry training, so those becomes very important, and regulators are saying that you don't have a robust mechanism to train your people for that industry. For example, if I'm doing this foreign audit, I know that from if I do central banking audit, you need a very different skill set. You have IMF accounting, you have certain other accounting. If I'm doing the central bank, if I'm doing the normal bank, now look at our own in Indian context. Payment bank is quite different from small finance bank. The small finance bank is quite different from scheduled bank, and the laws are very different there. The business models are very different there. I'm just giving an example. We use foreign financial services, manufacturing, constructions, all those. So basically, are you giving enough industry training to your folks? You're only training standards, but what about industry? What about skepticism? What about how to make sound judgment? You need training on them. Without that, it's very difficult. Because I say sound judgment, what does that mean? How to make the sound judgment? How do I possess that knowledge? I think that's the main problem. I think the regulators think that they're not doing enough on training. Partners' performance evaluation. Globally what is happening now? For example, let's say our own firm now. I'm just giving an example. If a partner gets into quality issue for the first time, 30% of the remuneration is off. If the partner gets into the second time, 60% of the remuneration is off. If he gets the third time, the door is shut. That's it. Simple. As simple as that. And why is it happening? The regulators are pushing that. When they come for the inspection, they look at how you evaluate the partners who has a quality issue. They look at these parameters and they look at the managers, the senior managers. How do you really rate them? How do you promote them? For example, I know the policy, if a manager has a non-compliant file, he will not get promoted for 2 to 3 years time frame. So I think that's other area, partners remuneration. What do you mean by that? That means basically, are you sometimes what happens, you give incentive to partner because he's doing lots of non-audit service business. If I'm an audit partner, let's say in A company, but I'm getting a lot of non-audit services from a firm, and the firm is paying more to me. I think that's where the regulators say that's wrong. You're promoting a guy to do something else apart from the audit. So that's another area of concern. Assignment of engagement team. Today you can't simply put a team and ask them to do. If you want to do a bank audit, it's very different today. An RBI guy told me, I felt very, very sorry. He told me that we never depend upon auditors. This is the statement made by one of the RBI inspectors. Because we know that I think you guys don't do a good job. On my face is it. That's the expectation they have in terms of, So how do you assign an engagement team? Are they enough trained? If you are doing insurance companies, a normal person cannot do. If you are doing banking company, a normal person cannot do. If you are doing NBFC, a normal person cannot do. If you are doing commercial bank, the same guy cannot do the small finance bank. The laws are very different. I'm not saying that you should not be doing. Are you adequately informed of that? You know what's the difference in payment bank, the small finance bank, and schedule bank? If you don't know that, then how do you do the audit? So how do you assign the team? Whether the team knows, the work. I think that's the issue coming on the human resource side, at the firm level. Similarly, if you go there, monitoring, they're saying that wherever you have trouble, you don't have the root cause analysis. See, after the SOX came in the US, the restatement has gone down. It's not even zero. It's coming down slowly. So that means still restatements are happening. That means controls are not operating sometimes. It's tick the box. I think that I'll talk about later on. So remedial issues, you guys have quality issues. If I look at the global report year after year, the same issues are coming up. What the global refining in 2014, 15, 16, 17, mostly 75% will be there. So that means they're saying that you're not doing enough, root cause analysis, you're not doing any work. Internal inspection. Every large firm has an internal inspection. What they're saying that when your internal guys inspect, they say your failure rate is 5%. When we check, your failure rate is 50%. That means your internal checking is tick the box. We don't believe in that. I think that's where they're getting into. Now, pre-issuance review. I think they're encouraging, regulators are encouraging. When you do the complex audit, let some other team reviews the work before you issue the opinion. That's called audit reviews or pre-issuance reviews. An audit team does the work. A simultaneously there is one more team just checks on a real-time basis and they give the input. They are encouraging. On bigger client, don't get it wrong. You do some pre-issuance review. You do some hot review. So before you sign the opinion, you can correct all the issues what an independent eye looks at it. I think that's what they're encouraging. They're saying that you guys are not doing that properly. And then comes to engagement performance. You have the quality review partner who's supposed to do his or her job. You guys are not doing that. Although a QRP is appointed as per the standard 220, but he doesn't do the work what he is expected to do. Supervision and review. I'll go back later on to indicators. They're saying that partner managers are not supervising the work properly. It's left to the juniors, far more juniors. And that's the reason I think you're not able to, catch the issues up front, right? Your methodology and guidance is a problem. You don't have clear methodology. You don't have clear guidance. Because every firm what they have, you have a standard, you have methodology, you have a guidance. They're saying that your guidance and methodology should be aligned properly. It should be more practical examples. If it's judgment-based, you need to say how you want to implement that. So implementation guidance should be there. I think there's a challenge coming in. Consultation. For every complex matter, the regulator expects that the firm has a consultation. It's just not that one partner is signing. They consult within the smaller partner group or larger outside practice group to just get the consistent answer. Because the other thing which is happening in the profession, shopping, audit shopping. Audit shopping is nothing but if I take a different stand, the client goes to somewhere else and gets signed. Many times this is happening now. So I think that's where the frustration comes from. That look, I think you need to have a profession, a proper consultation, so that you get the right result, or right matter, or right conclusion on your client. I think that's the problem there. And this is basically I talked about in terms of the EQR, the quality review partner was supposed to do, and policy includes here. For a quality review partner, what he or she is to do, I think you don't have clear policies. Because the QRP also has to be independent. He cannot get into any, but he is independent guy. At the same time, he or she needs to do their work. I think there's a challenge is coming through. So these are some of the ISQC requirements. So ISQC 1 talks about independence, acceptance, human capital. Human capital includes all your training, your remuneration, promotion, all those things. Consultation it talks about. Then it talks about leadership at the beginning. Don't let it talk. Whether the audit leadership, audit firm leadership is giving enough importance to quality. Just not growing the accounts, growing the profit, growing the revenue, they're saying that there's wrong parameter. You do that, but correct should be at the base of it. I think that's something, that's what ISQC1 talks about. There are a lot of changes that are expected to happen in ISQC1. There's a project which is going around at this point in time. They said that, look, I think we need to tighten the belt here. Once again, as I said in the beginning, from, basically, they're going more on rule based. I think that's what is happening. I think they might come up with more guidance in the ISQC1 itself. In India also it's applicable. Now let me just come through quickly. I think in 2 minutes we can just, then I will have it. So on the audit side, I just talked about the firm level. So what you need to ensure is that, okay, fine, in ISQC1, as a practitioner, how I'm doing, whether it's small practitioner, medium practitioner, large practitioner, sometimes you don't have QRB within yourself. You can probably take QRB from outside. It's all love, I think, how you operate on that. And that is now going to become an extremely focused area in India also. If you look at last 2 or 3 years, at least from 2016, the QRB was spending a lot more time on that like in the past. I expect NFRA will really go detail into that. On the firm level, how you're studying and how you're complying with the ISQC1. Because you are writing in your audit report there, you're complying with the ISQC1 standard. So you just can't say that, look, I have not done this. So I think what we will probably do, I think we just, break for the tea at 6:30, I think 1 or 2 a day. Let me just go on the engagement level. So what is more, complex today in audit? I think this is something, the very, very common sense for us. One side I talked about fair valuation. The maximum issue today we have on how we audit fair valuation. You have certain fair valuation you can audit very easily, certain very difficult. For example, just to give you an example, listed company share. If I have investment in listed company share, I can easily audit that. If I have investment in unlisted companies, then I am in trouble. You look at, I think, how RBI is smart. In the past, if you have investment in unlisted company share, it says that you value that investment at 1 rupee. Our regulators are slightly smarter than in the past. So I think the biggest challenge today we have in the audit, where 30 to 40% of the disasters in the audit starts with the fair valuation. We are not doing enough job, enough kind of a sense check or work in that area. So what are the areas which are getting criticized in fair valuation? The first one is basically assumption. Whether it's goodwill valuation, whether it's intangible valuation, whether it's impairment, whether it's investment valuation, especially unlisted, whether it's market-linked debentures, which is very common in Indian context, you do make a lot of assumptions. Or even, for example, your actual valuation, where I think your actually takes 5% of increment, 30% of kind of attrition. So assumption, what they are saying that you guys are not looking at assumption with external data. What the client tells you, you just take on the face value. I will tell you, by making a small change in the assumption, the result could be very, very different. If I take the government bond rate at 7% or 7.25%, the result could be very different on the large portfolio. So what they are saying that when we come for the review of the file, the assumption largely you have gone based on what client tells you. For example, you might say that, look, my business is going to increase in next 1 year. My economy is shrinking. I don't know how my business will increase. So what they say that you are not linking that to the external situation. I think that's where the trouble is coming through. In terms of how you audit the assumption. And secondly, the accuracy of the data. Are you comfortable on the data of the client? Because the client might hide some data and give you the other good data and get the results. Are you happy with the accuracy of data? Are you making risk assessment? So what is risk assessment? Certain assets are exposed to foreign currencies. Certain assets are exposed to interest rate risk. Certain assets are exposed to commodity risk. Are you really looking at that? Because the foreign currency risk can really impact you significantly. Or interest rate risk. Today what is happening in the market, why emerging economies are struggling? Because all along, the US interest rate was very, very low. So all the money was getting invested in a country like India or emerging economies. When the US started growing very fast, and obviously the quantity easing, I don't know how many of you know, when the credit crisis happened, the central bank started printing the money because they wanted to have the economic not to collapse. So they pumped the money. If you just give the data to you, almost $11 trillion of money was pumped between 2018 to 2014, 2008 to 2014. At some point in time, the central bank balance sheets are blown up all over the world. Whether you take Federal Reserve, you take Bank of England, Bank of Japan, when I look at the financial of this central bank, they kind of increase. Now they are trying to see how to contain that. So in order to do that, obviously they started now raising the cheap money has gone, the interest rate they started increasing. Just interest rate 0.25% increase in the US Fed rate can send shocks all over the world. Look at what happened to FIIs in India. They started pulling the money back. The share price went tumbling. So I think the question what they are asking is that are you really doing that risk assessment properly? Or you are just going based on that? Now look at what happened. Some of the NBFCs in India who kind of give loans against shares. The RBI says 2x. The 2x is nothing but if the value of share is 100, market value as an NBFC I can give 50. Because of this stock market problem, some of the stocks are now gone to 10%. So bank has given 50 rupees. When the value of the share is 100, today the share value is 10 rupees. Regulators also fixed now. What sort of law I should be writing here? I'm giving a practical example here. So I think that's where the trouble comes from risk assessment. Relevant variables. Are you considering all the variables? I'll take the best example in India. I can pick and choose what I want. Let me give you an example. You have, the better example is that let's say I have equity investment or tech investment. Or for example, even you have investment in the associate companies. I as a management, I have 5 associate companies. Okay, so I want now I have the option. I can go through the cost model. I can go through fair valuation to OCI. I can go through fair valuation to P&L. Out of the 5, I will see which is doing better in the marketplace. Let's say for example A, B, C, D I have. So I pick up A which is doing very well. I'll take fair value to OCI. Let's say D is not doing very well. So I'll say I'll take a cost. Standards are silent on that. The client might argue that okay, I've done very well here. The standard allows you to choose, not choose it. As an auditor, we need to be skeptical there. Then the question should be asking why not doing others? Do you have at least healthy communication with audit committee on that? This is called the management bias. They can do in India, that's a challenge. Because it's extremely difficult to write the accounting standard. And accounting standard, the biggest trouble today is that accounting standard boards are being funded by hedge fund, private equity fund. They are only looking at short term. The whole concept of investment in long term, what we did, it's all going. Today you are measuring companies quarter after quarter. There's enormous pressure on the CEOs. You'll be very surprised. 80% of the CEO's salary in the US is linked to profit. Now imagine, and the average life of CEO is 2 years. Right? So you've been under pressure to kind of look at something so that you can show better results. I don't see any business can only keep increasing because there is a cycle. Unfortunately, the investors are very short-sighted today. The pension fund guys, the hedge fund guys, because hedge fund only looks at 4 or 5 years, or venture capitalist guys. So they are now sometimes funding these standards. As a result of that today, if you look at the financial statement, which was designed for a long-term investor, it was not designed for an investor who will invest today and get money after 3 months. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gone to fair valuation. No, fair valuation to what extent is right or wrong, it's a big debate today. To what extent we should be going to fair value, right? So that's where the indicators comes to a large extent when you have the index or IFRS or the gaps. So as an auditor, we need to look at where the management bias could be the fair valuation. And are we comfortable on that? Are we challenging the clients? Or you can use growth assumption. If I take growth assumption of 4%, 3.5%, the result will be very different. I see some client keep telling me that okay, Indian economy is going at 7.5%. I keep telling them that 7.5% in the paper. Real growth is 4% or 5%. I don't know. Is it right for us to just go back and take that? Because otherwise we will only hit 1.8. So I think that's the manual bias which is coming through. So accounting estimates is one of the very critical areas. There's a big project going on globally now to revise the standards. Revise the standards. And another thing what we do sometimes, okay, the valuation guy has done the valuation, I'm fine with that. You can't do that. The standard or the standard mandates you to make sure you apply your thought process and you agree with the assumption, it looks fine to you. If not, then obviously you are in trouble. The valuer will go in trouble. That's the reason why I think the company at 2013 we brought the valuers responsibility in that case. Right? So I think this is one area I think is extremely important, and one more I'll cover and can revenue recognition. Maximum number of frauds have happened in the revenue recognition. Now, so what happened globally? Globally in 2004-5, the auditing standard mandated you have to consider revenue as a fraud risk. Today you don't have choice. Any audit you do, you expect two risks from the auditing standard point of view. One is the revenue, second is management order of control. These two risks has to be there in your file. You can't say that, look, if you don't have, because management order of control, you can't rebut that. You need to always have in your file. At the same time, revenue. Because maximum number of fraud happens in that area. And today the business models are changing. It's extremely difficult to understand sometimes the business models. I know some startup, when I just go and meet them, I struggle to understand what the business model they have. Because they are all used to selling something, doing some services. So this is one area where the standard says, it assumes that there is a fraud in the auditing standard. It is not. If you look at the audit when it was conceptualized that you should think that there is no fraud. Now we are going from that to say that we should think that there is fraud. I don't know which non accounts gets added there, but at least revenue is there. So what is expected out there? The expectation out in the revenue is that you understand the revenue model, you understand the revenue process, you understand the revenue risk, and you audit them properly. Whether it's a cutoff, whether it's occurrence, whether it's accuracy, whether it's kind of netting of the revenue, whatever it may be for that matter. There's a huge focus in this area. So you need to understand the process. The other thing which I see largely, I think, why we're getting into trouble. One, you don't understand the client business properly. Secondly, you don't understand client process end to end. IFC, if you ask me, it's at every 360, 36,000 feet we look at it. Client will give something, will take something, okay, fine. That's where the trouble comes in. So I think that's one area you need to look at, and complex, because when I look at software, multiple elements. Today I think somebody is manufacturing the products, somebody is doing the services, somebody is distributing, I don't even know what's happening on it. So how, and again, the complex arrangement is getting built. Sometimes I think, see, the business is going far ahead compared to standard. Business will not wait for the standard. The business is here. The standard always keep catching that, and there's always gap there. And that's where the disaster comes in. Right? I think because of technology, the business are going complex. So I think revenue is one area I think you've got to be extremely careful as to how you audit and how you control. Because fictitious revenue is one of the easiest areas to commit frauds. And if you ask me, the percentage globally is about 45% frauds are committed through revenue. Typically 40 to 45%. So the accounting estimate, I just want to give a thought, how do you audit them? What the standard talks about? Look, let's look at principle now. Are we doing that? It says basically, do you understand the process, how the estimates are developed? Number one. Number two, it talks about, do you know the pressure point of management, where there could be management bias in the accounting estimate? Whether it's impairment, deferred tax, investment valuation, goodwill, intangibles, you take whatever it may be. Do you understand the pressure point, where the client might do, the management bias? Do you understand the past history of estimate? What the client told you, what actually happened? Take, for example, inventory provision. Simple idea. Or debtors provision. Have you gone back to the history of the client to say that if he's saying, my bad debt is 5% boss, I don't have to worry. Is it 5% or something else? Sometimes the client have to do it relatively reversal next time, right? So go back to the past. It says understand the process, understand the pressure point of the bias, look at the past, And Audit now currently, what he has done on that, and what you think on future. I'll give you an example. Let's take an automobile example. By 2020, the law says that your diesel vehicle will be out of the river. That's all. That's the law. The country of right. In 2015-16, the diesel vehicles were at the rooftop. Every OEM made investment on the diesel vehicle. After 2020, the law is that you can't sell the diesel vehicle, where will be? What happened to that investment? I'll give another example. Before Trump came, most automobile companies went and made huge investment in Mexico. Because what happened? Japanese, they always felt that Japanese can will never appreciate. They made that assumption. Because we are a stagnant economy, we are not developing and all, we are not growing. So Japanese yen will never appreciate. In 2011, Japanese yen started appreciating. So the cars what they used to manufacture, to give you an example, Japan has only 5 million car demand in the country, but they used to manufacture 10 million cars. 5 million cars they used to pick it and push to US. When the Japanese yen started rising, they started making losses. Because, when your currency goes up, your imports become cheaper, exports become, all more costlier. So they started losing on that. So suddenly they decided, okay, fine, I think this is not working. And also, unfortunately, when it happened in 2011 in Japan, because of tsunami, most of the guys were not able to manufacture cars. They said, okay, why can't we go to nearby country? Made billions of investment in Mexico. They said, okay, let's manufacture a car in Mexico and send it to America. Because America is a big market. Suddenly, Mr. Trump came and saying that, look, I think I want to ban this import of cars. Overnight, the billions of investments are gone down the drain. These are impacting us like that. If you don't understand that, matters, today the deglobalization is impacting many companies in a big way, including Indian companies. So you can't say that I look only the tie balance. Because tie balance is the outcome of what is happening at top level, right? I think that's where you need to link accounting estimate to the external variables. It could be growth in the economy, it could be changing trade policies, it could be trade tension, it could be simple oil prices. Look at the airline mess in India. The airline mess in India is essentially because of 2 reasons. One, we depend on the oil prices because to fly an aircraft you need 7% cost of oil prices. If oil prices goes up, and secondly the base trouble is that the parking cost what they pay to the airports, which is quite costly compared to any other country in the world. So I don't know which airline will survive in India if you ask me. One by one they only go down. Right? So I think these are the things you need to understand when you look at the accounting estimate, when you look at impairment, and have built enough challenge to your management and get insight so that you think through. At least if you have 5, if you have these things in the 5, even tomorrow the company goes down, probably the analysts might criticize you. Because they say that this guy has done everything on pretty smart what he had in the position. He looked at foreign currency, he looked at interest rate, he looked at commodity prices, he looked at economy, he looked at growth, everything he did. More than that, he will come and he takes the hindsight information whenever the collapse happens. And the way the collapse is happening, that the collapse is happening after signing the accounts in the next 2 months. Obviously, I think people are questioning that how do you audit it? How did you do the audit? Right? So I think this is the 2 things on top. I'll go through the other things also and probably just wait for 3 to 15 minutes and come back. Thank you. once I cover it quickly, maybe I think we can have some Q&A if you have any questions or something. I take 15 minutes. So these are the two areas I think which are on the top of the chart globally. The revenue and the account estimates, which is not very surprising to all of us. The next example is basically I think where I spoke about, although we are certifying internal control, I give an example of even the PCOP, where I think the stocks, US stocks, Japan stocks, every country has a stocks, not India also, we have India stocks, where certain threshold we certify the controls. The biggest trouble in controls today, if you ask me, there are two types of controls if you were to look at on top level. One, I have auto-related control, then the manual control. Third category, you can say IT dependent control. Because some controls I operate based on IT dependence. For example, I am looking at the, let's say, aging report of an inventory. I am depending upon the resource generated by the system. Right? So, if you look at automated control, if your information general control are operating properly, for example, your change management, access control, complete operation, if they are all operating properly, you say that, look, automated control I can do that. So, essentially, we divide the control into automated control and the manual control. The challenges today I see in the client, most of the client, 90% of the controls are manual controls. So that means the quality of manual control to large extent depends upon the quality of person who performs the control. Number one. Number two, in bank, if somebody tells me that I have manual control, I have been highly skeptical. Lakhs of transactions, how a human eye can check that? Interest computation, effective rate of interest, NPA classification. Can it just humanly possible that you can do manually? I see people accept manual control there. I know that the control is not operating. It's in the form, right? So that is where the manual control. In the manual control also you have two types of controls. A preventive control, which operates before the transaction happens. Then you have the detective control. The control happens after the transaction. So globally I think what the regulators are pushing, including RBI and India, go for more automated controls. And go more for preventive controls. Detective controls is not good. It all depends upon the quality of control. Within this manual control, then there are two types of control. You have something called processing controls, something called review controls. Review controls is where the most of the disaster happens. So what is review control? Somebody reviews the impairment computation. Somebody reviews the tax computation. Somebody reviews the contingency commitment, your disputed cases to see whether you need to make provision or not. So these are called review controls. And most of the time in auditor what we do, unfortunately, if there is a sign off, that means control is operating. Actually the standard talks about sign off is an evidence of control, it's not control by itself. If I sign some document, and if I give it to someone else and say that look, this control is operating, then it's a disaster. The question you should ask me that, are you knowledgeable? Do you know the process? Do you have time to perform that? Are you independent? These are the questions you should be asking me rather than if I'm signing. Today most of the time what we say, go, manual control, sign is not. That's where we are making huge mistake. Although the control is signed off, tomorrow we have the restate. We have a huge problem in the tax computation. Or we have a huge problem in impairment. So that's why the review controls. We've got to be extremely careful. We should ask question to ourselves. Is it control operating the way it should operate? If the guy is knowledgeable, and you cannot do by just citing the document. You need to talk to that owner who performs the control to understand what he or she is doing in that control. You can clearly identify whether the control is operating or not. This is one single most issue we are having in the controls, on the manual controls. Right? The second problem in manual control is that somebody is doing the IT dependent control. Somebody reviews the report. We don't ask the question, the accuracy of the report on which you are taking the decision. From where that report is coming in. Are you comfortable on that? We don't check that. And obviously, you don't test the IT controls. If you have the IT issues, access issues or computer operation issues, change management issues, you cannot rely on the IT controls. Then you need to make sure that the manual controls are there in place and they are working properly. As I said, if the transaction is very large, if I have manual control, you can easily say that, look, I think this control doesn't operate. Humanly, it's impossible to check, this number of transactions. Sometimes client tells me, I process 50,000 invoices per day. I said, you can't do manually, impossible for you. So I think that's a trouble. Or we don't test properly, ineffective testing, which I talked about, right? And sometimes we depend upon work of others, and we don't objectively evaluate that work. We just take on the face value. So this is one of the biggest single issue which regulators are grappling with. Even we have the internal control opinion, but you have the disaster. Look at the Indian disaster today. Every disaster company or bank had internal control signed off cleanly. Look at, I think, what sort of an investor will have faith on us, basically. I think this is about the biggest issue. That means we need to be very mindful of the fact. As I said, first you understand the business. You do proper walkthrough of a transaction. End to end you do the walkthrough. And you identify which are the risks, which are the control. Then you take a step back and think through where fraud can happen. That's what the standard kind of promotes you to do that. The fraud can happen at the input level. It can happen at the output level, or it can happen at the final output level. It can happen anywhere. So we don't ask those critical questions where the fraud can happen. It could be in cut-off, whatever it may be. Right? So I think we don't ask that question. As a result of that, first we'll have a design efficiency step. I'll give you a practical example. Some client comes and say that, look, let's say IT company. I'll give you a simple example. An IT company, you have timesheet, right? Sometimes the client says that, look, I have timesheet approved, customer has a timesheet, he gives me, and I will invoice. The question we should be asking ourselves, controls will operate inside your company. If that guy commits mistake, what will you do? Having client timesheet is fine, it's an additional input, but control has to happen in your company, right? So I think critically you need to look at those points. If you don't look at them, you'll have the design efficiency and you'll also operating efficiency also, because the control may not be operating properly. That's one part of the story on that. The fourth largest issue we have today globally, audit sampling. Audit sampling is one of the biggest trouble area. So now regulators are now becoming very mindful of the fact. What you do control. Then you do substantive testing. I do the control testing. Controls are operating, depend upon the risk profile. I do the substantive testing. They are asking the question whether they are adequately tested their balance. For example, I have 100 in my sales. My controls are operating fine. We have lots of manual controls. My substantive testing is only covering 1% of population. They are asking question to us, how are you confident that 99% population you are not tested in working government? This is a new thing which regulators have started operating. Point number one. Point number two, the PCO, the US regulator, they are now saying that whether you rely on control or not, you don't care. You have to do minimum substantive work. They are going back to the basic test. That we are not testing. When I started my articles, we used to test those transactions substantially, I think, to a larger proportion. But today, no, they are pushing. The main gap difference between the US GAS today and the ISR or the Indian auditing standard, for all significant account balances, the US GAS requires you to do the substantive testing. The ISR or the Indian auditing standard is silent. It only says if it's significant risk, you do the substantive testing. Significant risk, you have to do substantive testing in all GAS. But for significant account balances, the US GAS says that you have to do necessarily substantive work. So what is significant account balance? Any account balance which is more of materiality. If materiality is 100, if my account balance is 200, so I said, look, it's material account balance. So this is where the changes are happening now. I'll give an example to you how changes are happening. The US GAS, it tells you, if you are doing listed company audit, you need to attend the investor call and listen to what the CEO and CFO are saying. And then come back and look at your audit and whether it's all natural. This is a requirement under the standard. I'm not saying from home here. They have made that change because they realize auditors are not just looking at fraud. I think the CEO or the CFO, they make investor presentation, or you have the analyst report. Or analyst report, by the way, gives you a lot of red flags in the beginning. At least in my experience, I've seen many of the audit disasters we would addressed properly, at least 60%. Had you looked at those analyst report, they give a lot of red flags because they understand business much better than you are. So are we taking off? Not only this thing, if there is a demand notice from income tax, it has impact on controls. We ignore that. We have custom issues. It's all linked. Transfer pricing report qualified, financial report clean. How is it possible? Cost audit report qualified, financial report clean. Secretary report qualified, financial report clean. What are we trying to do there? That means you're looking at silo. Even a show cause notice might be an indicator of a potential issue in your controls. That's why regulation is show cause notice, right? I'm not saying the deficiency directly. So we need to look at the overall game of things. Before we come to the conclusion, I think this was sample. This is where I just added to that. So untested population is becoming a real area of concern for regulators. What the firms are doing or what the auditor is doing to get comfortable. And I will tell you it's very difficult. If you are in a large company, it's very, very difficult. For example, if you are doing consolidation, the question they are asking is that have you covered all the components properly? In India, still we are fortunate here because they have a joint audit responsibility. Globally, it's wrong. You have to take full responsibility of financial statement what you are signing. No matter who is working for you. You can't say that this is joint audit because if you look at ISL reports, you can't have a split. In India, we have a split. I have done so much work, he has done so much work, that's all. Still the statement is there, but globally it might change, I don't know. So I think this is where, and depending on the management representation, excess management representation. See, sometimes I think we don't even understand. I little basic things I've seen where fraud learning, how careless sometimes it could be. Before you pick the population for testing, the basic thing is that you ensure completeness of population. Right? I have, let's say for example, I need to do 100 rupees sales from the trial balance. First thing I have to do, forget about testing, first I need to get a listing of that 100 in my state. Tally that and get a check. This is a basic procedure an auditor has to go to ensure completeness of population from where he or she is picking the sample. In two of major disasters globally, what happened? Good population is given to auditors to test. Bad population is there. And they never check completeness. How do you find fraud? These are the basic things I think we're lacking today. To ensure completeness of population from where we begin sample. If you don't do that, then management can take it for it. This is what happens in sampling. So this is basic requirement which we have been doing for ages, but we have forgotten of late because there is too much of transaction, we depend on too much IT system, too much all of those things I think we just forgot about. So this is the inappropriate sampling. And also if you do target sampling, target is nothing but if you look at major population, you need to make sure that your untested population is below your performance materiality as per the standard. If it is not, you need to pick up and do some non-statistical sampling or statistical sampling. You just can't say that I have done only large. For example, if you look at only top 10 and don't do for other items, and if the other items sum up to your materiality, straight away they are not complying with the standards. So these are the basic things I think where they are picking up the holes in that front. Next one. Adequacy of financial presentation and disclosures. Unfortunately, very unfortunately, if you look at IFRS financial statement or India's financial statement, there are so many disclosures. You just go mad as an accountant, forever accountant. The client can easily hide what he is not supposed to disclose. Easily can hide. Provided he is smart enough. Now there is change in the standard which you brought in. The other information, already other information, globally it is there. Today the standard talks about, please read the board of directors report, the management decision, and management discussion analysis in DNA and link to financial statement. Are you consistent on that? Today you have to do that from this year. As per the Indian auditing standard which got amended this year. So that means I can't just sign up a financial statement without reading the board of directors report at the beginning itself. If the board is saying something, you are saying something, you're in trouble. That sort of inconsistency regulators pick up. I know for the fact when I was doing one of the review, the CEO in his report, the MD&A, he's clearly saying that the industry will not grow in the next couple of years because of 1, 2, 3 reasons. When I go to financial statement, impairment, there is a growth chart shown there. Significant growth. In the same set, when I asked the auditor, said I never read that. And clients also clearly signed the representation, thinking that it will not grow. And we are not even check that. So now what the regulators have done, boss, you just can't audit the accounts. You please look at all the information and make the decision. That's why now there is a separate paragraph in audit report of the other information. So the disclosures, I think the client can hide. A lot they can hide if they want. I think this is where the art trouble comes in, because we have to make sure that we read entire financial statement and look at everything to say that it's all conveying the meaning what it should convey. It's not conveying different meanings. This is the biggest of all the problems in India. We have been struggling for the last 10 years now. The NPAs. The NPAs we are struggling. And there once again what happened? Very simple. If you look at this NPA, I don't know why it took so much of time to grapple and realize. I can tell you in India, you show me a single new business which is succeeded here. I'm not talking about IT. Please take IT out of that. You take infrastructure, power, telecommunication, steel, airport, airline. Every new business is strength in India. Why is that? Because we don't have consistent policy. Look at renewable energy. The hype which was created. On that basis, bank lent. Solar, tomorrow is going to be solar. Without realizing, suddenly the state, the electricity board will drop the price from 7 rupees to 3 rupees. Right? So I think these are the issues in that. We don't even link to that. In bank audit we do. I remember, way back in 15 years back I used to do the bank audit. The first thing we used to do is look at the loan, the sector wise, and look at which sector is in distress and how the bank is trying to make sure that there is no NPA. There is no evergreen in there. You don't understand that. It's impossible. And it's all insecure sometimes. I give an example of jet. It's all brand. So I think this is the one area where the financial crisis happened. In India, slightly better. Actually, if you ask me, our RBI is much better than many other regulators we have seen. I know when the credit crisis happened in the US, they were analyzing why the bank went bust. They did a lot of research, lot of studies. They came to only 3 reasons. Why the entire mess has happened globally in 2008. One reason, people never knew what risk they are taking. CEO, default stock, which you are aware of what happened in 2008 in the US. So, in the financial service industry, the basic thing that do you know your risk, what your risks are, and how you mitigate it. Whether it could be on balance sheet risk or it could be off balance sheet risk. So one, risk management policies were not proper. Second, the governance was weak. In one bank in the US, the board of directors comprised of not a single banker. Independent board. There was one construction guy, one some defense guy, one some other professor. I think he was nothing to do with finance. The entire independent director never knew what the bank is. Thankfully, I think if you look at 1949 Banking Regulation Act Section 10, it talks about fit and proper person. That way, I think I really salute people who wrote 1956 Companies Act, Banking Regulation Act, or RBI Act 1934. That because of that, still is slightly better here. The credit crisis never impacted India too much. So this is the one area where the entire IFRS got changed from incurred model to expected model. In the India basically look forward for the ECL model, expected credit loss, as opposed to incurred loss. And that's why RBI is very hesitant to implement India's per bank, because half of the banks will bankrupt. The capital adequacy 9% will probably go to 2 or 3%. And I was told that the bank required almost 20,000, some 9 lakh crores capital infusion. if they follow the ECL model. It will twice for government of India budget. And probably India is the only country in the world which I can tell you that there is no other country in the world where 75% of bank assets are owned by the government. The nearest comes to my mind is Ethiopia, is about 35%. So that's the problem here. I'm just talking about this the audit allowances for loss. How do you audit that? And this is where the trouble comes in today, I think, for all of us. So this is one area globally also, that's why they are motto. And don't think expected model you can audit. I keep challenging myself that sometimes it's very difficult for God to predict what will happen in 12 months. When we are involved. If he's involved, you know exactly what it is. So I think when you're looking at the ECL model, the assumption model you make is very difficult to audit, not at all easy. Thankfully, RBI has come up with a lot of circulars to help you to look at the base rates when you look at the ECL model. Maybe you can look at the guidance. So this is one area when we do the ECL or provision for your impairment of loan losses. Group audit, the famous issue. What is issue in group audit? Are you really scoping all the components properly? Let's say, for example, I'm a holding company auditor. The holding company has 25 subsidiary companies all over the world. In India also they have, somewhere else also they have. How do I scope that? Which component or which subsidiary should be audited, which not be? As I said, in Indian context, if you are an Indian company auditor, let's say, and I have subsidiaries in the US or in the European Union, which are not listed, there is no requirement to audit, as I said in the beginning. Many private companies audit if they are not required. Now, if I am sitting in India and giving the opinion, I will think on that, to which component I want that to be audited under Indian GAAP or Indian Indians, during the Indians. How do you scope that? And the other problem is that you just cannot go based on quantity. Many times I see people, okay, 25 subsidiaries I'll take, let me look at which subsidiary turnover is how much. Okay, I'm covering 85%, 90%, I'm fine, the 10% I'm okay with that. You just cannot do quantity, you need to look at quality. There are certain disasters which have happened globally. Off-balance sheet items were parked in one subsidiary, off-balance sheet. Auditors completely missed that. For example, one company is doing lots of forward covers. One company is doing a lot of derivative transactions. If you don't cover that, because they are not in the balance sheet, sometimes, it's easy to see what is in the trial balance. You should imagine what should have in the trial balance, looking at the business model. That's where the challenge comes in. So I think how do you scope it and what sort of materiality you set for each component? Because you have your own materiality. And how do you set component materiality? And do you do independent, you do assessment of the competence and objectivity of independent auditors? For example, let's say that I have one big subsidiary in Poland. I don't know in Poland, I think how the auditor will know Indians. Because I'm depending on the auditors. At least he has to do work or I have to do work. He probably will say that I'll do in Poland, Polish gas. Or he'll say I'll do in Polish gas. Poland gas is different from ISO. And that is different from Indian standard. Now who would do that? And we happily sign based on the Indian standard company that everything is fine. So these are the practical challenges that comes in when you do the reports. Very difficult. Sometimes the accounting standard is, accounting period is not same. You are doing in March. I've seen many companies where they struggle. That is in September. In December. Accounting policy won't match. So how do you do the group audits? It's not very easy. And today I think consolidation plays an important role because companies act requires to consolidate. There is third, I think this is not many people do in India, I know that. Sometimes the standard allows you to build expectation and compare with the actual result and get satisfied. For example, let's say I'm doing the central bank audits. Typically what I will do, I'll take the central banking assets. I know where the central banking invests in. Typically you have, every central bank has a law, you can tell the law. They are required to invest in certain category of investment. Let's say for example they invest in US Treasury bond. And they invest in some of the long-term government bond of other countries. You know the average rate interest. You apply the asset, what the central bank has, apply the average rate. Let's say for example I'm having $500 billion in the US Treasury bond. I take the $500 billion asset, multiply that average industry yield which the Fed publicized, I multiply that and get to the amount what should have been my interest income. I compare that with the actual income. So I'm building the expectation and I'm comparing the actual and I'm saying it looks fine. Typically, you do a lot of things like you could do for rent. A lot of examples comes to mind. So now the question comes is that are you building the expectation properly? You need to have that knowledge. The client says, look, average interest rate is 7%. So we tell the client told me 7%, I'll multiply 7% and it's all matching. And if you go back and look at the outside, index, it may be 6%. Then straight away you're failing in that area. So the substantive analytical review is one of the most powerful procedures if you do it properly. If you don't do it properly, you should never even attempt this. I don't know, many may not be doing it here. And then accuracy of the data and all these other concerns there. Fraud procedure. Where the standards are moving up today. As I said, in the past thing I was taught when I was doing my CA, please don't accept that there is a fraud in the client. No, the standards are please accept there is a fraud in the client. At least it's saying that I don't know what it says in the future. Now the standards are mandating in order to do the brainstorming of the fraud. So what is brainstorming? Right from share capital to my expenses, where the potential fraud could happen. Don't think that fraud can only happen in revenue. I have seen in Australia the biggest disaster which happened in 2017. They just flipped the current liabilities to long-term liability. That's all they did, nothing else they did. It was a current liability. They did some kind of a side debtors. They just pushed that current liability to long-term liability. And actually it was current liability and the bank was not unable to pay and the bank went bust. Nothing happened. Or for example, EPS, earning per share. Slight bias, your share price will go. You may say that what is so great in EPS? These are qualitative factors. Because your share price, your book earning ratio is linked to the stock price. The punters always look at it, how you perform. So, the brainstorming you need to do not only on the measurement angle, you need to also do the disclosure angle. For example, related party transaction. It's not disclosed, biggest fraud it is. Identifying related parties is difficult, if you ask, in Indian context. One of the most difficult areas I think in India is how to identify the related party relationship. You have some trust, somewhere, this, that, and all, finally you get lost. Right? So, brainstorming is something is what is required in the standard. So, you as an engagement team need to sit down, understand the client business, look at right from the share capital to expenses to disclosure to qualitative information where things can go wrong, including EPS, and then devise the procedures. And it talks about unpredictable procedures. What is it unpredictable? The client doesn't know that you are doing that procedure. Clients are very smart nowadays. They say, what unpredictable procedure are you doing? Right? So I think the fraud is one area I think got extremely careful because I have come to the conclusion it's very difficult to say that in my client there is no fraud. If I am saying that either I am fooling myself or I am fooling someone else. Now the question we need to ask basically, the fraud is happening at lower level or higher level? Lower level that fine, travel expenses, something else, but if it is happening higher level, corporate governance should. No matter what you do, the audit procedure you are going to pay. Right? If there is a corporate governance issue, impossible for you to do anything. So this is one area of what they are saying, that you guys are not doing enough job to understand the pressure point. The pressure point of the management to show better results. And the third thing which I said on the banking, I said one is risk management policy, second is corporate governance, third is compensation policy. Today most of the disasters are linked to compensation policy. I already spoke about the US CEO's average salary. If I look at 1975 or 1985, the average US CEO salary, fixed salary was 85%, variable was 15%. Today variable is 85%, fixed is 15%. So you are pushing someone to commit something to show better than what he or she thinks the company is earning. So I think this is where they are saying that you guys are not looking that very holistically. And management is basically telling you the much better picture and you just accept it and you don't, identify the fraud, you don't do the proper procedures. And now look at Indian Companies Act. Maybe it is the only regulator in the world, in India, where we are supposed to report fraud identified by us to the government. In non-banking, all over the world I have seen, if you are a bank auditor, if you identify a fraud, you have to report. Everywhere, all over the world, this is there. It is not there for the normal company. It is only in India. 140 is only in India. Just imagine how much importance the Indian regulators is attaching. You don't have any other country where you have to report directly to the regulators. So this is one area I think where we need to be very, very careful. Risk assessment. See, this I'm not talking about you need to focus on operational risk. You should really focus on the financial risk and how the client is managing. It could be interest rate risk, it could be credit risk, it could be market risk, it could be the interest, foreign currency risk. What is the risk and how the client is mitigating? Sometimes we even fail to understand which risk the client is mitigating, which risk the client is transferring. Because I can't mitigate all the risk. I have to transfer some risk to insurance company. So for that, you need to know the client appetite for risk. Right? So I think that's where they are saying that you are not understanding. I see this in large Indian context. You are keep importing. You don't have forward covers. You don't know how you are addressing the risk. So this risk assessment is something you need to really spend a lot of time, and that can only happen if we understand the business very, very carefully and clearly, including the cashier point, which is left to inventory. Inventory fraud can be very easy. Either change the quantity or change the price. Very difficult to do it. Very easy to do this. Anyway, I think the client will do the complex spreadsheet. But then you look at the spreadsheet, you exhaust. You pick a few samples here and there and you just check that. So this is one area what they are saying, that one inventory verification itself. I have seen in my own kind of experience, in my own career, sometimes I think we are not capable of verifying the inventory. I'll tell you for example. I had a client, I used to sign a glass financial statement. One day, first day I went to him. He showed me 2-3 heaps. He said, this is a heap, one, this is all cut glasses. He said, this is so much, this is so much, this is so much, that's all. I said, I don't know what it is. I'm not capable of verifying this. I need some expert help. So don't think that you can physically verify any inventory. If you're doing then you're doing this mistake. Sand, glass, petrol, diesel. You can't verify that. We are not competent to do that. Jewelry, gold. How do I know that gold is fake or gold is right? I don't know. So this is a huge area which we don't exercise enough skepticism. The question we should ask that I am capable of doing that or not. If I am not, I need to understand. Coffee, tea, sometimes I struggle in these businesses. That's one inventory, and of course the valuation. I think you can either kind of load a lot of overheads. I've seen many frauds. In order to show the better profit, I load a lot of my cost to inventory. I justify to an NRV because let's say for example I have a client who has 50% margin. So NRV test we always pass. He loads lots of cost. Easily you can do fraud. I can do fraud through revenue expense I capitalize, show the better profit. Easy tricks is this. Some cost is not capital, intangibles. Sometimes it doesn't beat the test. In order to just take out the profit and just capitalize, you just put it in the balance sheet and show much better itself. If you're not skeptical, it's very, very difficult to understand that. So that's on the inventory side. Supervision I already talked about. I'll just quickly go on the other indicators. What the regulator is now saying that is it possible for us to put a percentage how much a partner should spend, how much the manager should spend on the audit? It might come through. You can't say that as a partner to us has spent. They're saying inadequate supervision is happening now. So this is where I think the lack of problem is coming up, in terms of review and supervision. Expert, you don't see competent. I see actual evaluation sometimes. The guy may not be competent. Whatever client says, he'll take it. Attrition 10% okay, 5% okay, 0% okay. Then he's not independent. So independent objectivity, because as I said, we are relying on lots of experts today. We got to be mindful of the fact that the expert is a reputed guy. He's a qualified guy. Does he have experience? Does he follow proper standard? Because today I think the valuation, earlier there was no valuation standard. But today he has valuation standard. He has to follow those standards. You have actual standard, you have to follow the standard. Right? So whether he does that work properly or not. And challenge enough judgment on the assumption of what the expert means. I think this is the area where there is lots of issues and we are not able to do proper work in that area. I think that's why we have to be careful on that. Related party transaction, which I already talked about. Completeness of related party transaction is the biggest problem. I told you what is there in trial balance, very easy to audit. What is not there is very, very difficult. So this is one area. I think related party transaction is completeness. The list what the client used to do, he may take out from a related party. Special purpose vehicle. Trust. Ultimately he or she will be controlling, but this is take out from him. So that's another area I think where, and the value. What sort of transaction price you have. I think there's a huge focus of the government also, at least from a domestic transfer pricing point of view, or international pricing point of view, I think whether the value attached is proper or not for the related party transaction. That's why companies like us put lots of emphasis on this. And then audit report. Are we really using a proper audit report? Our language is proper. Now you have CAM. You're doing this with companies. The key audit matters, if you need highlight, it's not very easy. Which is a CAM. I think you will struggle to identify that. So are we putting proper, appropriate conclusion? I'll tell you where the mistake we commit here. A matter which should have been qualified is a emphasis matter. The client will somehow convince you, provide a qualification, it's a emphasis matter. I see many times the emphasis matter what we write is actual qualification. And we give clean opinion to our clients. That's the biggest disaster you can get into. Because the conclusion is inappropriate. Because what you say in emphasis matter, you're saying that it's all clean. But that matter what you're writing in emphasis matter, it should be clear qualification. So that you need to be extremely careful, and are you reading conclusion properly on that or not? Going concern. This is now becoming a focus point globally. I think the standards are going to get revised now. Because we are not doing enough work on the going concern, because we don't challenge enough, we don't look at the budget enough, we don't look at the industry issues enough to say that the company can survive. The business models are changing today. What you see the technology platform today may not be relevant after 4 or 5 years. I'll give you a simple example. The technology platform. The platform is making sure that the customer is going to be the ultimate business or whatever it may be. When the customer reaches to business directly tomorrow, what is the requirement of platform? And today there are many platform companies that are valuing billions of dollars together. I don't know whether they will be relevant after 5 or 6 years. Once the technology moves ahead, right? So the going concern is another area you have to be extremely careful. Now, if you look at, I think, what are you thinking? Some of you are going to banks here. I think NBFCs, what the RBI was thinking, whatever the amendment they are doing to the banks, whether it's in terms of capital adequacy, whether in terms of the debt liquidity, whether in terms of LCR, they want to all bring it to NBFCs also. After the disaster, what happened recently? They're now talking about that we need to push all the standard to even NBFCs also. So if you're doing NBFC, you'll be treated almost equal to bank in future. Because they don't want to get any issues in that area. So I think to do more than ongoing concern because liquidity is issue. Because in India the problem is, the biggest challenge we see that we don't have institutions which fund long-term funds. We don't have wholesale banks. Like in other countries we just see, wholesale bank is nothing for which gets the money for 20 years and give loans for 20 years. In India we don't have that. The bank will get deposit from you and me. They will lend to 25 years project. If the project goes back, over. That's it. That's all over. Government is there to bail out. That's why private bank will never touch. Look at the private bank. The moment you say more than 5 years, they say, it's not possible. So that's the trouble we have in Indian context. Because the corporate bond market is not developed. We don't have a pension fund which invest in a long term. We have, but ratio is very less. So net the short-term funds are being used for the long term. And the long-term asset goes back, this guy goes back, everything goes back. So that's the trouble which comes from the going concern. Today the single biggest problem in India is liquidity. Already I told you there is a big gap between what you profit report in the financial statement, what cash you generate out of it. And that cash only you are going to pay someone else, right? So that's the trouble there. And most of the businesses in India, one thing I've seen, Indian businesses, any new business everybody jumps in. Airline, that's all. Knowing very well that in globally there are only 2 airlines which are making money today. Emirates, Singapore, for the last 5 years. The rest all, including Americans also. Emirates is doing very well because 70% oil is in his hand. No problem. The main ingredients is there in his hand. Or maybe, look at, I talked about many businesses. I think, everybody in India doesn't really think through. Education, let's go there. Let's go there. Everybody, except a few businesses, I think we don't go there. We don't have. So that's where we need to understand some of the things in ongoing concern. Audit committee communication. If you don't communicate audit committee, you will take the full responsibility of disaster. You need to write, communicate in writing. It's not that somebody will just come for a tea and coffee, the audit committee chair, and then will say that. No. So you have to ensure that you're kind of communicating. They're required communication under SA 260. You are required to have some communication to the audit committee. Are you doing that? At least for the public listed companies, or banks, insurance, NBFCs, there is audit committees. So I think they see the challenges. Now, in CAM, I tell you, you've got to be extremely careful what you're communicating to audit committee, what you're putting in the audit report. Because CAM is kind of funneling actually. I take all the areas where I'm spending time, and out of that I'll say which is the most critical area for me, and then I'll put in my report. So somebody comes to you, they said you are told 10 things for audit committee. You only put one thing here. What about 9 things? What happened to that? So regulators will link these things. They just challenge you. Show me why is only one CAM awarded 10. So one, you have to communicate, and second, you have to link also to your report, because your reports will now be becoming more and more transparent, right on that front. So, with all these issues, globally I think what the regulators are saying, let's look at the indicators what the auditors should follow in order to get the quality audit. This study is going on. The PCAOB, which is the US regulator, they have developed a set of audit indicators. The IAASB, the International Auditing and Assurance Board, they are trying to develop a kind of a platform or perform. People are now struggling to define what is audit quality, because quality has a different meaning to different people. An investor has a different quality expectation. A regulator has a different, because regulators say, are you paying taxes properly or not? I don't care whether you are making profit or not. That's not a quality. Investors say, I want profit. Bankers say, are you liquid to pay my loan? So the definition is not easy. I've seen when regulators are struggling to put definition to audit quality, and there is no one definition today on audit quality. Now they are looking at the audit indicators as to what sort of indicators they should have in the entire process to get the audit much better than what we've been doing currently. So what are they talking about? They're talking about on the audit professional. So first thing they're saying availability. Whether the audit team has enough staff to do the audit first. Staffing leverage. They're looking at number of staff required for an audit and how many staff you have. Partners workload. Because partner is also human being. If he or she keeps signing the report as if there is no tomorrow, then it will print out. So they are looking at partner's load. As a human being, whether he can sign so many reports. Then they are talking about manager and staff. Manager also has to make sure that he has appropriate, time to do the work. Technical accounting and auditing resources. Whether the firm has technical accounting and auditing resources to help the engagement team. Because it's very difficult sometimes, as I said, IFRS, Ind AS is a more on principle. It's very difficult sometimes. Whether personal specialized skills you have. See, sometimes clients have their own experts. Experts could be in the area of actuary or valuation. Sometimes in auditing, you have to also have your own experts. So they are looking at whether these are there as ingredients in the audit. Is the audit firm or the audit proprietor is thinking about in availability part, both from the staff angle, from the expert angle, from the partner's leverage angle, from the manager angle. Competence. Whether the person has experience to do that audit. I can't simply put one guy from manufacturing and say that you please do NBFC tomorrow. You will not have knowledge. Or I can't say that you do banking, from tomorrow you do insurance. I can't say that. That means whether the person has experience. Industry experience. Does the person understand the industry and the industry issues? Turnaround audit personnel. Too much of turnaround in the audit personnel. How do they ensure quality? Amount of work centralized. See, sometimes what we are doing, some routine work we try to just give to shared services. Is it fine or not fine? They are looking at that also. Training hours spent. That's why you have CPEs, all of those things. To make it relevant. Because today, I'll tell you, as an auditor, if you don't read 50 to 20 hours in week, I can tell you very clearly that you will be irrelevant to do audit. That's how I feel on that. Every week, because there's change in company that they change in bankruptcy code, they change in FEMA, they change in PF. Every day something is all this coming, keep coming, which is the financial statement. So obviously I think how much time we are spending. And believe me, the classroom training is not the most efficient form of training. On the job, how you learn, which is more important, and what sort of mindset you have to learn. Unfortunate part I see today is that once you pass CA, you think you are completely perfect to do things, and you become irrelevant in that. I think you pass CA last year, this year you cannot tell you irrelevant. I think we should understand much better so that we can all be relevant, otherwise we will struggle there. Then focus areas or risk area, how you identify. See, auditing standard talks about two risks. What is the problem? They take those are the two risks, chalo, two risks will put in the form. Revenue, manual order control. What are the other risks? Have you thought about related party? Have you thought about accounting estimate? Have you thought about going concern? Have you thought about confirmation as risk? Have you thought about contingency commitment as risk? We need to think through which are the risks, for our client. You just can't default on this two, you need to think through. I think that's where many times the challenge is that you will not understand the client risk. You don't understand. Sometimes a law implementation, I was struggling in one of my clients, whether they're really following the small bank guidelines of RBI. Very difficult, very, very difficult to implement the guidelines in their audit. So sometimes I think we need to just make sure we understand this location of auditors. As a human being, you do very good work in this low risk area. Where I see, I think people excel in the expenses audit. But no problem. Revenue, cost of sales, I don't know. Inventory, I don't know. The audit staff also is like that, right? Because what is easy for them, they audit. What is not easy for them? How do you audit derivative transaction? How to make sure that you are following the hedge accounting properly? How do you know that the business combination, you are allocating the purchase consideration properly between intangible, tangible, and then you have goodwill or you have the capital reserve? Very complex areas. If you are doing this work, it has to be done upfront from the senior, right from the partner level, down the line. How you coach the team. That's where they are talking about allocation of audit hours, how you are doing. Tone at the top. Obviously, I think what sort of people think about quality. Do they really think that the leadership is focusing on quality? Incentive. Most of the firms, what they do, if you grow business, you get bonuses. If you achieve quality, you get zero. Peer review pass kya? No, nothing will you get. They are saying that's wrong. You have to promote quality also. I think that's where they are focusing on. Fortunately, audit fees is becoming a complex issue globally. I know the fact, which is good for the profession, if you ask me. I know the fact in the audit committee, they are rejecting that the audit fees is low. I know one particular bit which I was just, out of context I'm saying. The firms got deleted because they had put low fees. The audit committee chair asked, how the hell you do the audit in this field? That means you don't do the quality job. Sorry, take out. It's happening to you. Because the regulator is not pushing there. If I'm saying that I'm doing 400 crores turnover in 1 lakh rupees, people know what audit I'm doing. So this way the trouble is coming, which is good for us. I think now they're focusing on that. So in future I feel our fees will go. Provided we get all the issues sorted out, then we can demand a briefing. Because the director is responsible, they are having sleepless night. So they want someone to do the proper work. And I was talking to someone in the tea break, the one big change I've seen in this country which will go through, SEBI saying that you need to have 50, 60, 70% public float. In India we don't have that. In India, the public float is only 20%. The majority 70% is owned by promoters. Except in bank. That's why I keep telling the banking regulator, bank, you cannot hold more than 20%. No matter what you are. You have to dilute 80% of your stake as per the banking regulation at 1949. They thought about long back. In 1949 they thought about. In India you might see going forward, the SEBI will say, boss, I think if you want to be listed, make sure that 60 to 70% is the public float. So that in the US, I don't see any company which is controlled by promoter. Take Amazon. Amazon has only 20%, including his wife. She's diverse now. You put together 20%. He doesn't have more than that. Facebook. He doesn't have more than that. Apple. Ford Motor Company. The promoter has only 7%. That's where corporate governance become much better. If the promoter is a very good person, then no matter how much he's holding, but if he's not able to follow, he's not able to bite the bullet, he'll be in trouble. So I think the tone at the top is other area where in audit firm also it applies in a similar context. Independence, which I spoke about, and then infrastructure, which I talked about, consultation teams we should have, all of those things. I think they are looking at monitoring, and once again the results. They are trying to develop a kind of format for the indicators. That means in an audit, if the partner spends less hours, it's a defective audit. That's how they're going on in the future. Together with the partner manager, they may say that, look, you have to spend X amount of hours. If you don't spend, we think that the quality is bad. That's how they're developing. Or they're saying that if you don't have a culture in your firm where you punish people who don't do the quality job, you don't have a good culture. They're trying to link that now through these indicators. Financial statement indicators that if you have a restatement, then means you're a bad auditor. You have signed 3 accounts and all 3 are restated. Obviously, you're useless there. Because you're signing one thing and next year you're restating those accounts. So that's one of the indicators which is coming through. Or fraud, or financial reporting issues. I think that's internal control. If I sign IFC opinion, next 6 months there is disaster. That's one of the indicators. So I think like that they're coming out in indicators. And also I think based on that they will start ranking the firms. So there is a lot on all of us. So I think the PCO which you are talking about, IWSP is also talking about almost the same thing. I don't want to repeat. Input, process, output, how they interact with each other just together. There's a few thoughts here. Once again, ethics for you. What is your attitude? Ethics, are you knowledgeable? You have sufficient time. Same thing once again. On the quality side, are you really doing the rigorous audit to ensure that you comply with law and regulation, applicable standard both auditing and accounting? And in terms of output, basically I think how do you really report on your output, whether that you stand the test. I think it goes something wrong tomorrow. So, and interaction, how it happens with all. So I just don't want to really, because in all development stage at this point in time, what I wanted to just say is that tomorrow in your essay, there will be a standard which says that you have to do these minimum things. Because what they're saying now, we have given enough room to you for you on the principle. Since you guys are not doing, we will push now quality factors, which is happening already in standard, which is happening in ISC 1. Probably will have a new standard on the indicators. I think that's where it is. I just want to go talk QR very quickly. If you look at the QRB issues, almost same order as spoken. If you look at 2018 QR report, almost same issue there on independence. And independence, what I talked about, same issue there with identifying. Engagement letter, they identify some issue that we don't have proper engagement letter, where there is no management responsibility clause itself. Audit documentation, they are finding a lot of footnotes. See, generally, audit documentation improves the quality. That's how I learned in my life. Because when I was assistant or manager, when I used to go and start writing this procedure, suddenly I used to realize that I have not done this procedure, I need to go and do this procedure. So audit quality, the documentation kind of improves audit quality. But today what is happening, in order to protect yourself or documenting, ulta is. That will not stand the test. So I think this find a lot of issues in documentation. Documentation in the area of fraud risk, in the area of law and regulation, in the area of communicating audit committee, how we assess materiality, response to risk, audit evidences which I spoke about, they find a lot of issues in this area. Audit sampling, they find issues. Using work of others, internal audits, they find issues. And then, audit evidence which I spoke about, they find issues on that. So these are all QR coming through. It's not only the international regulator, the Indian regulators also mirroring the same thing. There's no difference in that. Okay? And these are some of the auditing standards which I mentioned here. I don't want to repeat here. They're saying that you're not following them properly. So I think I just want to, because most of the things, external confirmation is one thing, which is where I think they are also talking about, I think there is a lot of issues. Because standard talks about to circulate at least 3 confirmations: bank, debtors and legal. That is a requirement of the standard. If you don't do that, then you are not compliant. So that's why they are finding a problem. Representation, they find a problem. Disqualification, directors are disqualified, but we are saying that he is qualified in our cover. And one thing I'll tell you, when I came after all these years to India, the first thing I realized that what sort of guts you have to sign Indian audit report, which runs into 4.5 pages. Globally, I used to see only 1 page. First time I came, if you look at Caro, accepting any employee marriage issues, I think we are covering everything. I don't know when that also there is no, I don't know. Married like it was proper or not employees, I think that also there. First thing, somebody came in 274. He said that you have signed a certificate. I said, oh, certificate. I just looked at that the foreign MD is not a lunatic person. He's not a bankrupt person. I suddenly realized I'm accountant, not a doctor was. How do I know he's lunatic? We are not even pushing our regulators. I'm happy you are signing that code. I don't know on what basis you sign. We say representation. He is giving representation, I am not mad. All that representation I am getting is not mad. What a joke here. We got to go back to regulators and look at an accountant. One audit day, I went to do on tea state company in Kerala. He came back to say the audit certificate is required. I said, what? My per acre output is so much. I said, how do I do that? No, that's what the law says. I said, what I am able to do it? I'm not if I'm there, I'll only own the coffee plant. I'll not use the accounting. So such kind of things we are signing today. I think your certificate, you got to be very careful whether you can do the work. So that sort of stuff I think we need to have. And companies that have one particular section, I was already talking to someone. It says, for example, if the MD's daughter is marrying CFO, there is certificate required on that. Under companies that 2000, I don't know what certificate I'll give them. How independent they are, how do I know? Look at how regulators are pushing us and we are getting pushed. Everything is already certificate. Something goes wrong, fine. I think we also take blame and we need to go back to regulators and say, I can't do this here. I'm not a doctor to say that somebody is mad or not mad. I don't know, I think something I keep raising with the Central Council members that at least you need to go back to MCA and say that I can do the work where I'm expert. If I'm not expert, I'm not supposed to do that work. So anyway, I think this is where they are also talking about in terms of QRB finding on qualifications. Accounting standard, they are following, accounting policies are not disclosed properly, cash flow is not being disclosed properly, depreciation accounting policy is not there, revenue recognition policies are not proper, sometimes the policies are not there, investment disclosures are not proper, employee benefits are not proper, borrowing costs, you don't capitalize, you don't disclose properly, EPS is the issue. I think it's all what I talked about, deferred tax, you are accounting without virtual certainty. Sometimes I think on that they are talking about impairment of assets, they are talking about disclosures are not proper, you have not done proper work in that area. And the cargo, RBI circulars, I think all these things which I spoke about, I won't really repeat. So I think this, mostly I think these are the same issues globally in India. Maybe I think there's a certain law and regulation it might change from that perspective because we have too many laws. So what is that we need to be doing? We need to look at our own quality as to how we are going in that journey. What incentive you are giving to people, how you are motivating ourselves to do the quality work, how we are spreading. I will tell you, I'm giving a practical example. When IFC came in, I had 2 clients I just was talking about. When the IFC, I looked at it and I looked at the control, I said, look, I think IFC still is not prepared. So first year I think we need to just think about it and then next year we can say. One of the fundamental challenge we have in profession, we don't make the CFO understand what are the auditing standards today. Because he has passed in 1975. That time 2 standards were there. Today we claim 38 standards will fall from his share. So we need to educate him about when you pass and what is not today, things have changed. We need to communicate. Because they don't know our pressure now. They don't know how regulators are behind us. If you talk to them in that language, they understand. So what I did actually, when you go to a client and say that look, you have so many deficiencies. Rather than saying I have qualified the report, I told the MD and the board how comfortable you are in giving your opinion on your own profile. Forget about me, I'll come next. When he said, I want to sign this. He himself accepted that. If I had gone to him, saying that I was calling, I will say, okay, you have been signing last year's, everything clean, what is this I say, I don't know. The way you communicate with them. It's not that you need to dispute the client all the time. You need to educate them because they don't know. As I said, the CFO was passed in 1975, 1988, there was no standard at that point in time. So my only thing is that one, you need to communicate that. How do you, and look at your non-audit services and audit services. Do you really see some conflict in that? I think this barriers is there, which I talked about globally, is more on that. Shareholders engagement, how do you engage with the shareholders? And there's now great communication tool for you through CAM and great review of your audit work. Actually, if you do the audit planning properly, 50% of your problems solved. Not 50%, 60 to 70% of your problems solved. Because many times what we do, we focus a lot on execution and completion. We need to shift that gear and put it planning. In the planning, we should look at right from acceptance, independence, risk, materiality, risk analytics, contracts, law and regulation, fraud risk, inventory count, confirmations, control environment. If you get on, then it becomes easy for you to make sure that you guide your team properly. And the guide your team, do the thinking audit. Don't let them, kind of just do the audit based on checklist, based on some sort of thing, because that's more disaster. And they never develop. Because today, I think the most important ingredient which I told in the beginning itself, future accountant will have to make a lot more judgment than what we have done today. Businesses are going to be extremely complex. Financial statements are going to be very, very critical. And next 5 years, this financial statement, what we are doing will be irrelevant. Because now they are talking about integrated financial reporting, which has all the stakeholders. So I think that's where I think if you don't become thinking auditors, it becomes difficult. So some of these things you need to look at, basically planning, how do you assign the engagement, how do you direct, and then it becomes easy for you to do the execution. I think that's what I had. And use of technology. The other you can look at it. How do you want to use that? There are many technologies, cost-effective technology. I'm not talking about you can invest a lot of money in that. ACL is a tool. Not very costly, but does a lot of great work. Especially in difficult areas like revenue inventory. You can use the ECL. There are a lot of platforms available today, and you can use them properly just to make sure that. And the other important area you need to very focus is on journal entries. See, today, one of the areas I think I have challenges when I sit with my own team. Do we understand the trial balance properly? The first time when I joined my article, partner told me. He told me that this trial balance is a read for 5 days and come. I don't know what to read there. I looked at everything, I went to there, I read everything. He asked 4 or 5 questions to me, I never answered that. He said, you're not going to read this properly. He was asking me. He said, look, I think I was second year. He asked me, I think you'll tell me whether the control accounts are far too many in your trial balance or less. He told me if control accounts are too many, then there is a chance of fraud committing. Basic things you don't understand. You don't even understand the trial balance. You don't understand the trial balance. And many times in the client place, there are many orphan accounts. Orphan account is nobody look at. They don't even map the accounts to people. Because they'll say ERP, very good jargon, they'll put into this one and this, So I think that's where the trouble comes in for us to do more understanding. And look at how the trial balance gets generated, which system talk to each other. Today, many of our client systems talk outside. I don't know, big silo issue there. Your client systems are talking to bank system. Your client system is talking to government system. Your client is somewhere else. How do you know that it's all fine? You don't have technology and background, it's very difficult to understand that. So I think some of these things I think you can do much better in the planning phase. So my only request is that the more you spend time in planning, understanding the client business, doing your audit very in a scope, you'll reduce the time, you'll get the effective results. If you don't do that, then it'll be very, very difficult. Because if you miss the planning, the rest all is problem. It's like you'll never be able to get good output. Even if you get good output, you'll spend a lot of time. And teams will become frustrated. You keep going with coaching most of it. You say that you do this, you do that. Rather than telling upfront what they're supposed to do. I think that will be more helpful. So I think this is what about I talked about. I don't want to really go on that. This is something which skepticism I spoke about. I think that's something which we only can tell, to the people. So that's all about. I think we have some Q&A. I just want to spend some 5 minutes. Anyone has questions or something, because that's more important for me. almost practically whatever I know, I think I'll be able to articulate.
Sir, one
Yeah.
quality means we think of them, then ISO certification, for
Yeah.
example, which
Yeah.
deals with the standards, testing the standards. So can we learn something from that? Because long ago I did go through one ISO certification. It changed the whole organization atmosphere in the manufacturing sector. So can we learn some things from that? Is there any?
That exactly this audit quality indicators, the output of that. In ISQC, one there are standards. Today we don't have the standard how to measure audit quality.
Standards are operating.
They are operating. So that's why we don't have the standard. There's a reason why it is saying that you should have few indicators like ISQC, I think ISO certification, so that once you go through the standard and somebody looks at the standard versus your processes, he gets a comfort. That's why I talked about rating. In the future you have rating like you have in an ISO certification, you have ratings. You might go through that. It's going to happen. That's where now they are heading towards on that. Yeah.
Audit tools, can you just throw some more light?
Sorry?
Audit tools which you are mentioning.
Yeah. See, audit tools basically, a lot of things are automated in the sense. For example, you have data analytics. You can do a great job too. So data you can subset your population and look at which population you think more risky. To give you an example, let's say I'm looking at the general entries. In the past, what we normally do is take the general entries on sampling test. I can take the entire general entries and analyze them. For example, how many general entries are passed on Sundays? Why somebody should pass on Sundays? How many audit entries are passed past 11 o'clock? How many audit entries are passed on holidays? I'm just giving examples. You can have indicators. For example, I'm doing the sales validation for my client. I know that sale is 100 this year, also last year was 100. But composition is very different. Suddenly I have new customers buying 20%. So I think you can use the data analytics in one way too, to analyze the data and target these samples where you want to pick from. Right? So data analytics is possible. And then you can do the other ones on audit tools, the ratios. One thing we do very badly, I have seen myself the benefit of it is, if I have a client which is operating in a particular industry, if I benchmark that client with other guys, and my client is doing slightly different, then I have to understand why. For example, NBFC, let's say, my average interest income or the net interest margin is 2% industry. My client is saying 4%. So that's what comes through this analysis, benchmarking, ratios. I think that's other area which you can look at in terms of audit files. Audit files are now becoming automated. There is a lot of artificial intelligence in the audit files today. Many firms have. Once I upload the trial balance in my system, set my materiality, it will tell me which account I should audit, which account I should not audit, where there is no risk, based on the criteria I identified. And it also tells me whether I am doing over auditing or whether I am doing under auditing. So now I think the AI has been used a lot along the data. So you may see more and more. See, one thing which I don't know what will happen, see what investors are saying, I don't understand your reasonable assurance. I'm an investor. Either you give me everything is fine or I don't need you. That way you may say, you're an investor. So how can I get absolute assurance? I can't get absolute assurance obviously. I can only minimize that through technology. It could be audit file, it could be data analysis, it could be benchmarking. You see a lot of tools coming in the future on that. And I know that some of the small accounting firms may not have these tools. I know that there are certain guys who are trying to develop this tool. Like Tally. In next 5 years, I'll see a big audit software become like Tally. I'm just predicting, depending on what is happening today. Somebody might jump into that and say, look, we need to develop something. And it can be common use by paying the fees, whatever you do, which is all the intelligence in the, whatever build intelligence. Then we can have all the updates coming through, the auditing standard update coming through, and through patch it becoming up. It might happen. Any other questions?
This is not for the subsidiary of listed company.
Sorry?
This is not one. is applicable for subsidiary of listed
Yes,
company.
applicable.
But the standard says listed company.
Sorry?
Standard says listed company.
Listed includes subsidiary.
Thank you.
Includes subsidiary. As a component auditor, you can do that other person because he has to report on you. Otherwise, he will not comply with CAM. It's applicable.
Any suggestions on how do we acquire the industry-specific knowledge?
See, I think today one good thing I see when I was doing, I remember we used to wait in some library to read newspaper. We are not that. I'll give you an example without cost involved. If you go to Indian Brand Equity Foundation, Indian Brand Equity Foundation, you will see 39 industry reports, every product, airlines, bank, NBFC, insurance, construction, pharmaceutical, name it is there. It gives the industry landscape, it gives the industry risk, it gives the competition, it gives the future also. Best report for you, cost effective, just put your email address, it will come. Or, just register yourself with the RBI. RBI comes with some brilliant report. For example, if you look at every year, RBI is supposed to bring a report under Section 34 of the Banking Regulation Act, trends in banking. You go to our RBI website for 2018, trends in banking, we have a report which consists of 200-page report, excellent report. Or you go to trade association. Every trade association brings a report. It's very easy today. You just have to invest time to download that and read. You don't have to buy anything if you ask me. It's all free subscription available. You need to only find out who are the industry like automotive, CA, component suppliers, ACMA, insurance, IDA, RBI. So like that you have cement, you have regulator. Or if you're doing, let's say for example, if you're doing the telecom regulator is report. So you can go through all of this report on industry specific and look at the risk and map that risk in your mind, how it impacts your client. It's very important to understand the outside, because if your client is saying that I'm growing at 10%, industry declining 5%, that's a big issue for you. Unless you really understand what happens there.
My question is on disclosure of related party transactions. There will be many transactions with the company in which it has interest, and also the directors in the companies when they have the interest. But they give a declaration based on that, we report it. How to identify all the discovery, all the interest in the companies or with the directors? Is there any way?
If you search the MCA website, you'll get all the things. The regulators also helping us, if you ask me. Because as a director, now I think you know that requirement. I have to register photograph also, I need to register all the photograph and register photograph. It will be the website now. So look at outside information what we can collect. Regulatory filing is the best example in India. I have seen the filing customs and companies that it not matches them in trouble.
That is with respect to the directors.
Right? Even entities have declared. Because director declaration has to be all entities, where I am there. Okay? The only challenge today we have is trust. Trust is not disclosed. I see that as a challenge. It's complicated. So I think what procedures you need to do, I think one, you do the inquiry, you look at the board minutes, you read the financial statement, you will do the regulatory search, you look at all the filings. At least those procedures you can do. To say that whatever is available, today what we are doing, Vilas company, you look at the minutes of we don't do the regulatory search. It is powerful tool today. Because what regulatory filings you are doing with the different regulators, could be a good example for you. You can pick up from there, you only are staying here. Completeness is difficult, I agree with that. But we need to look at what procedures I can perform, what external data I can see. And SEBI also for listed companies has only enhanced the requirement. The declaration 149 is a great example. If he's saying that he's doing, but I also done some checks and balances, looks fine, I can defend myself. But are we doing that external check is my question. Sometimes read newspaper items is there on that. We ignore that. We can't do that. That's what I'm saying.
Sir, you were talking about the audit topic.
Yeah.
That if I qualify the report, the client may move away. how to being an SME practitioner, how to cope up with these issues?
See, I think what you can do is, you know, there is a, ICA is also doing some good job in that area. They are bringing a lot of implementation guide, which I might supplement, I think, compliment ICA because they are looking at some of these things. One, you can look at implementation guide in India abroad also. What is the difference between qualification and emphasis of matter? The standard is there, but sometimes it's very difficult for a reader to make the distinction. But implementation guide is very clear. I'll give you a simple example. What is emphasis of matter? Where neither I have the information nor the client has the information. What might happen tomorrow? For example, I'm dealing with a complex regulatory matter. The client doesn't know where to go. I also don't know. It's the best example. Because today I don't know, nothing is there today. Today there is nothing. But because the dispute is going on, I don't know how the regulator takes it. For example, you file AP or you file MAP in tax on, let's say, margin, cost plus. I don't know. Today he's saying that 15% margin is fine for me. But I am saying the regulators, I mean the tax authorities are saying I want to tax you at 22%. My client is going and saying that I will do the advanced pricing, APA, at 17%. So you are only doing 52%, you are not doing currently. But I can't say 17 is right because he is asking 22%. So neither client has control on that information, nor auditor has control on the information. Such kind of matter will come for a disorder matter. Not that already issue is there, I can't say is a disorder matter. So this implementation guide, both in India and even in ISR, IRSV, special auditing report, there is a lot of work in that area. You could read through that. Or consult with any of the colleagues. Always available. I think that's something which is always there. So implementation guide is the best example because every complex standard, the regulators have brought the implementation guide, whether it's accounting or auditing. Or in case you have doubt, you can also reach out to the Institute Auditing Standard Committee with your query. They are more than helpful to guide. If you need something to be done in that area, I say take note of it. I'm sure.
So this is regarding this India's implementation. First they brought it to the listed company, any listed company has to follow. Then they say that 250 crore network you have to follow. So now if internationally you have Ind AS, which is developed countries, they know Ind AS, fair valuation, business combination and so those complex things. But in India, if we are still learning about it, why did they make mandatory for companies? And now the result is that the companies are taken loans based on fair value of forward contract, unrealized, as you said, cash profit is something else, book profit is something else. So do you think that the Indian government has done correctly? And just to give you an example, in day 18 was there, they brought in 105 which people nobody is understanding. So is it right time to adopt India and the way the economy is growing, and are we digging ourselves into the hole and getting into it?
See, I think the trouble there is that even government offers a very less chance because what we want to attract investment. Look at this country, we don't have resources to invest. Frankly, we cannot develop our country on our own saving. Our saving rate is so low. 29% of GDP we save and we require 60% of GDP. So we don't know. So obviously international investors are pushing Indian government to have a common platform. A common platform so that they can understand. If you want them to invest in India, they're saying that look at what I understand my country, make sure it is there. So having said, in India also we have done quite a few carve-outs from IFRS. There are at least 9 carve-outs we have done. Every country has done. China has done, Korea has done, Japan has done, certain European countries have done carve-outs because our country is very difficult. Because, for example, if you look at our own country, we don't have capital account convertibility under FEMA. I have only current account convertibility. So obviously capital account convertibility I can't bring it in India because law is very different, right? So they have done that actually. See, the most impacted sector in the IFRS world, when I was in 2001 in Europe, is the banking. That's why they're delaying that to bank. If you look at India's, not every sector is impacted because of Indian capital India's. Because the ECL model is also not very significant. So the difficult kind of measurement will come only in banking and financial services. So I think fair value, yes, I think see, it's very difficult for someone to hold back. Even developed countries are studying fair value. When the markets are not fair, suddenly somebody will say that I will have this policy. When Trump came in, he made up and down everywhere. What fair value are you talking about? Is it real?
Historical cost was good or fair value is good according to you?
See, I think in my mind we should have a limit to fair value. We cannot go from one extreme to this extreme. That's what we are going to pay. And we will have disaster, we will come back later. It will happen in the future. So fair value to a certain extent is fine, but it's not fine for everything. That is something which regulators also understanding now where they need to make those changes. But those changes are required. Unfortunately, as I said to you, the guys who are using the financial statements are short-time investors, hedge fund, pension fund, VCs. They want to look at that.
So are we quickly adopting, we are understanding of India 18, right? And they bring 115, which have too much complications understanding it. Even a very good chartered accountant, big four firms are, understanding it. These are common accounting people like us, small firms, and the industries which we are serving to are equipped to adopt India's 115, which opens a Pandora box of revenue recognition.
See, I think 115 has impact on very few industries greatly. It doesn't have impact on manufacturing too much, trading not too much, service not too much, large extent. Having said, if you look at it, there are guidance available industry-wise. The good news for you is that whether it's from Big Four firm, whether it's from the ICI, whether from the International Audit Standard Board, they have brought a bulletin how 115 impacts each industry, how it impacts the airline industry. Not only 115, even 116. So I think knowledge is available. To that extent, you can acquire that knowledge. Nobody is kind of denying that knowledge because it's available in public platform. Only thing that we take it, understand, because we are going to deal with new issues. There is no time for us to think today. As I said, business is here, we are here. The standards are characteristically too far behind. So you will see lots of the regulatory immediate reaction on the standards. The only thing for us we need to ask question to ourselves: are we equipping ourselves well? Do we think this, much seriously? Like for example, 116 is coming next year. Do I know 116 what it talks about, how it impacts my own client? So that thinking is required to happen from now. Then we get the right answer. There is some judgment involved. It's not that I think you don't do the judgment. It's only the knowledge required. You can't do it on the last stage. Like for example, CAM. We've been pushing for the last 3-4 years. This time also I say went back to NFRA. Can you give me some more leeway? They said no. Sorry, you already got 2 years. Implement from 1 4. That's how the regulators start taking with us. They will not give any time. So that we need to preempt and start working from now. It's not that CAM, I said in the best before. NFRA rejected it. No, sorry. Because now listed companies all coming under NFRA. Right? Just one question at the last of anything is there. Thank you so much for kind hearing. Thanks a lot. This presentation is there with you. I'll ask them to mail it to you so you can refer to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was an in-depth and insightful session. Though the topic looks very simple, but I think in today's complex business environment, I think we need to relook again at the quality of our audit report and the complexities in it actually. And he has given a very good insight today, and I think we will be relooking when we go back to our practice tomorrow. So let's give a vote of thanks to our speaker today. I request CA Abdul sir, the past managing committee member, to come forward and give a memento as a token of gratitude.